Welcome to the IREL podcast. Are you sick and tired of real estate gurus pitching their next free construction deal, only to find out years later they were completely wrong? Worried the next overseas conference you spend thousands to attend will only be used to sell overpriced lots and deserted developments? Join thousands of other international real estate seekers who are looking for their place in paradise without the sales pitch. Straight from your host, Taylor White.
Hey everybody, and welcome to episode 1 of the IREL podcast. I am your host, Taylor White. I am so thrilled to sit down and speak with Michael Vuytowecz from Inside Panama Real Estate in Coronado, Panama, and we'll get down and dirty with the Coronado real estate scene and have you coming away wanting to investigate its local property market further or cross it off your shortlist entirely and continue listening. Right now from Mike, you will learn why Coronado is the perfect real estate location in Panama and he believes could be for you as well. The exact neighborhoods you should spend your time looking in and which to avoid. The target cost per meter you might expect to pay without getting ripped off. 3 specific examples Mike believes are killer deals, even for my grandma, what you might do with your property after you buy to make some cheddar, and much more. And don't forget, if you're listening to this podcast and want to grab Mike's contact details, links on buying or selling Coronado real estate, or any other show notes, head on over to irelpodcast.com/1. That's irelpodcast.com/1. Without further ado, let's get Mike on the phone. Hey Mike, it's Taylor White. I'm excited to have you on the IREL podcast today, straight from Coronado, Panama. So we can get to know you personally. Tell us about yourself and where your stomping grounds were before you ended up in Coronado.
Hi Taylor, thanks for having me. My stomping grounds, originally I grew up in Boston, Massachusetts. I lived there right up until I graduated from school. I decided to take a couple-week break and went to Lake Tahoe for 2 weeks, like I say. And oddly enough, I ended up staying for 7 years. I spent the time there teaching golf for junior golf, skiing, bartending in the casinos. And ultimately, I met my wife there, and we decided to move to San Diego because she had family, and really I was itching to start a real career with a real job. The time was about 1984.
Oh, that's great, Mike. And so we can get a better idea of you professionally. Give us your brief resume leading up to working at Inside Panama Real Estate.
Okay. Like I say, I went to San Diego to pursue a career in mortgage banking. I was lucky enough to get a job at a local bank that was willing to train me from the ground up. I was equally fortunate enough to get in when I did and get trained by a really knowledgeable and patient branch manager. Approximately a year later, I went to work for a very large nationwide mortgage company that had just purchased GE Credit. There I was really taught the inner workings of the mortgage banking business from an amazing mentor. I'm certain I would not be here today if it were not for his friendship and guidance. I began as a loan officer and slowly worked my way into management, overseeing production in several different offices in several states. Approximately 1980, I set out on my own to form a small boutique real estate and mortgage company of my own. It was called Priority One. The market just coming out of the downturn of the late 80s and into the 90s. The market was very similar to what we saw in the United States in the last several years. Many foreclosures, many banks having financial problems. During the Clinton administration, I formed several public-private partnerships with some of the municipalities that had large inventories of foreclosed properties in their cities. I got very involved in redevelopment and purchasing foreclosures from the government. And after a pretty successful run for approximately 15 years, right about 2005, I realized that it sort of looked like the same movie was about to play again. I sensed that the banks were overcommitted, and I sensed that there was going to be a financial crisis again. At that point, I had done pretty well, and I thought maybe it was a good time to take my chips off the table. So I retired. For the next couple of years, I played a lot of golf. I managed our real estate holdings, and soon got bored, much to my surprise. And I started really contemplating our next move, and oddly enough, I found myself looking outside the United States. I was just really too bored to continue to play golf every day and smoke cigars with the fellas. Started doing a lot of looking at other options online.
Wow, that's great, Mike. Love the detailed breakdown. Now we're getting more familiar with who you are both on a personal and professional level. Let's start to dig into your journey just a little bit. Take us back to your mindset. What were some of the reasons why you decided to look at other countries to begin with years ago? And then maybe which countries you were considering before choosing Panama?
Well, toward the end of my time in the mortgage industry, like I say, I sensed that things were going south. I had a young fellow working for me in the mortgage business. He was young, ambitious, smart, and he was single, so he was free to travel. He had joined an organization called International Living, and I'm sure many people have heard of it. And he started attending their conferences at various locations around the world. And each time he returned, he would share with me his experiences. For instance, he went to Brazil, and I think he went to Nicaragua and Costa Rica and Croatia and Vietnam. And each time he came back, he would tell me all these great stories about what he saw and the opportunities. And he would always encourage me to have a look. And each time he did, I would get online and kind of quietly poke around and look on the internet and see what he was talking about. Oddly enough, of all the places he mentioned, one that really intrigued me was Croatia. Unfortunately, during this time, my wife would have none of it. We lived in San Diego, and she really had no desire to leave San Diego. I think she thought I was having a midlife crisis. The young fella I was mentioning, he eventually traveled to Panama, and this time when he returned, he kind of surprised me. He said, "Mike, I'm leaving your firm, and I'm moving to Panama. I think the opportunities there are fantastic, and knowing what you know, I think you really ought to have a good look at it." Oddly enough, it did intrigue me. It was different than some of the other places. It was easily accessible. It was affordable. It had good infrastructure. It suited a North American palate. Again, however, my wife was horrified. She wasn't amused one bit. We had a pretty nice life in San Diego, and our children were there, and her parents, and her sister, and grandchildren. And she was very active at the tennis club, and really wasn't interested in going anywhere. The problem for me was the more I looked at it, the more I was convinced I was missing the boat from an investment opportunity. And right about 2007, I just couldn't take it any longer. And I came home one day with 2 plane tickets and said, "Listen, I really got to go have a look, and I sure hope you'll come." I suggested that we go have a vacation. Her idea of a vacation was Hawaii. But we did. We went and looked, and I think that she thought that would get it out of my system. Unfortunately, it didn't. I was immediately hooked, and I saw the opportunities that my employee had pointed out to me, and it really confirmed everything that I'd been researching online. There were some differences, though. There certainly wasn't San Diego. The first thing I came to realize was that there was simply no quantifiable data available anywhere. I was used to simply calling the title company and asking them for data, and typically by the end of the day, it would be on my desk. With the lack of an MLS system and everything regarding real estate in Panama is shrouded in secrecy, it was really difficult for me to determine what was a good deal. Coming from San Diego, everything I looked at looked like a good deal. So I really thought in order to make an educated decision here, I was going to have to do some research. I at that point decided I needed to travel around the country and gather the information myself, as there was none available. I hired a van and a video crew and started traveling around the country. I looked at virtually every inch of the country and went around and around approximately 21 times over a 2-year period. I would fly back and forth to San Diego and periodically check in with my wife and my children. And I was fortunate that I was even able to do that, and I was lucky that my wife had the patience to let me do that. And I think that she was convinced that after I did it, I would for sure get it out of my system. But again, it didn't quite go that way. I spent 2 years literally trying to sort fact from fiction, and discovered that it is truly the Wild West here. But some people, myself included, thrive in chaos. It seemed like a good fit to me, and by the time the 2 years was up, I couldn't take it. I wanted to launch a real estate company. And in 2009, that's exactly what I did. I launched Inside Panama Real Estate.
Well, Mike, I love that story, and I'm always fascinated to learn about which countries people have considered and why. Now, let's delve deeper into Panama as a whole, and then why you chose Coronado in particular versus other popular Panama beach locations like Bocas del Toro and Pedasí.
Well, that's a great question. The funny thing is, when I was traveling around in the van, quite often, like every other day, I would find myself jumping out of the van saying, "Stop, this is the spot, let's plant our flag here." I'd never seen such beauty. Panama is literally endless beauty. And like I say, every other day I thought I found the most beautiful spot and I wanted to stay. However, it occurred to me that though there were endless beaches and amazing islands and little quaint fishing villages, I found it hard to believe that I found the spot every other day. And I thought maybe it was time for me to narrow my focus. So I really started giving it a hard thought. I knew I was getting deeper and deeper into liking Panama, and pretty soon I was going to have to go home and convince my wife that I really wanted to go further in. So I literally got out a legal pad, and I sat down and I thought, well, what are the things that would need to be present in order for me to convince my wife to leave San Diego and live here full time, or perhaps one day our children, and maybe even mine or her parents, in the event that one day we had to help out with their medical conditions going down the road. And once I got serious and I started making that list, oddly enough, many of the places that I jumped out of the van thinking this is the spot didn't even make the cut. And the things that I came up with were kind of common sense as I look back. I knew I needed a medical facility close by just in case, and certainly would need grocery stores and banks and hardware stores and restaurants, and a close proximity to the city and an airport. And really the big one was a social life with other English-speaking expats. I don't speak any Spanish still today. I've been here for 7 years, and I speak very little Spanish. And of course, my wife would need other women to play tennis with. And oddly enough, like I say, none of the spots that I thought were fabulous and beautiful, I couldn't check all the boxes. It became pretty obvious to me very quickly after I made my list that there was really only a few spots in the country that I could check all the boxes. Specifically, Panama City, which certainly isn't for everyone, Coronado, and Boquete really were the three primary locations that seemed to fit.
Well, Mike, I couldn't agree more and believe Coronado is an awesome beach town for having an amazing lifestyle full of things to do, see, and enjoy. Through my travels, I am a firm believer in that I either get a place or I don't. Share with us some reasons why Coronado speaks to you.
Well, to tell you the truth, when I came to Panama on my first trip with Martha in '07, we had a brief amount of time to be here. I think we came for 8 or 9 days, so we had to have a whirlwind tour. We spent a couple days in Panama City, which definitely did not work for my wife. And then we headed out to the beach, and we came to Coronado, which we both liked it actually very much. My criteria really was pretty simple. I just needed to be on or around a golf course. And of course, I knew that Martha would need a tennis court close by. Me too, as we both play tennis. But after spending a couple days here and playing golf, it just seemed like it was too hot for me. I would come home from playing golf, and I felt like I needed to change my shirt every 3 holes. So after we spent a few days there, one of the places I'd researched while I was looking and I heard over and over about was Vuytowecz. Vuytowecz had been rated the #1 place in the world to retire for several years in a row, and I'd heard it was cooler and a nice, quaint little community. And I also heard they were building a world-class golf and tennis facility. So we went up to have a look. Immediately, we both fell in love with it. And oddly enough, we purchased a lot in the development that was building the golf course and the tennis facility. And went back to San Diego and broke it to the kids that we'd purchased some property in Vuytowecz, and within the next 4 to 5 years, we were likely to exit and go build a house. What I didn't anticipate was very shortly thereafter, 2008 came, and the financial crisis that I'd been anticipating came in a big wave. We, like many others across the world, took our foot off the gas and put everything on hold. It was pretty obvious pretty quick that this wasn't going to be a small bump in the road, and likely things weren't going to recover anytime soon. By 2009, I was eager to start my company, so because we both liked Coronado, we went back and purchased a home on the golf course there and launched Inside Panama Real Estate. And really the hook for us was the community, the people in the community, and everything that it had to offer on our list of must-haves. Martha quickly found a new group of people to play tennis with, and I started playing golf and setting the pieces in place to get the real estate company going. And oddly enough, we got used to the heat. I didn't think I would, but I not only do I play golf, I play tennis in it as well, which really surprises me. But the real hook is the community. It's an amazing community with lots and lots of expats, and we have a fantastic social life here. And just in the 7 years that we've been here, this community has literally exploded with growth. When we arrived, the expat community was relatively small, and the amenities, though adequate, were somewhat limited. I can assure you, Taylor, that that's all changed. This place is off the charts. It's growing right in front of me. I'm watching it explode.
Well, Mike, we have gotten to know you both personally and professionally, reasons why you chose Panama and why Coronado speaks to you. But now it's time for us to pick your brain on the local real estate scene. And to get the juices flowing, we're going to do a quick round of what I like to call the real estate hot seat. We'll ask you 5 rapid-fire questions, and you give me an answer in 15 seconds or less each. Mike, are you ready for the Coronado hot seat?
I am. Bring it on.
What currency is real estate priced in?
Real estate is priced in the U.S. dollar. The Panamanian economy is pegged to the U.S. dollar.
Is owning property as a foreigner legal?
Yes, it is. It's legal, and you can acquire title.
Can property be titled?
Yes, it can. Most of the properties are fully titled, though some of them are still rights of possession. It is common in some areas of the country, but those types of properties need to be dealt with very carefully.
Can money flow in and out of Panama easily, or are there currency restrictions?
Panama is quickly becoming one of the financial hubs of the world, and currently money does flow in and out very smoothly every single day.
And of course, my number one question, Mike, what is your favorite local drink?
Well, I personally prefer the local beer. They taste great and they're very cheap.
Okay, Mike, you can now relax, but just a little, as you are off the Coronado hot seat. But it's time to zero in on the local real estate scene. Give us your brief synopsis on the Coronado real estate market over the last few years, where it is today, and then where you see it heading for the next few years.
Well, currently the real estate scene here in Coronado is very brisk. There's new product coming online all the time. When we first arrived here in Coronado, there were only a couple of options available. Coronado was established many years ago as a second home enclave for wealthy Panamanians that would come from Panama City to the beach for the weekend and holidays. And it was almost exclusively Panamanians. Today, that's changed. In the last several years, more and more people from all over the world have discovered Panama. More and more people are choosing this area as their new full-time residence, and new product has come online to accommodate that demand. The quality has significantly improved. There's now new roads to the areas that were once inaccessible. There's a new airport 20 minutes away that will be open in the next 30 days. That in itself will be a real game changer here at the beach. I really don't see it slowing down anytime soon. The future here looks very, very bright. I expect many more new beach developments along the coast. And like many new emerging markets, this will soon be reflected in the prices, unfortunately.
Well, Mike, you have me sold on Panama as a country, Coronado as a beach town, and then its real estate outlook within the near future. Of course, you don't have a crystal ball. I sure as heck don't. No one does. But that is why I think it's so vitally important to get on-the-ground insight from local real estate professionals. And yes, I just used the words local and on-the-ground in the same sentence to drive home a very important fact. Mike, you are not some newsletter writer who might spend a few days in Coronado and then send out emails with hot buys calling yourself an international real estate guru. You are there in the trenches on a daily basis, dealing with local buyers, sellers, agents, lawyers, and every facet of the real estate business. Break this down even further for us. Pretend you are Google Maps or Google Street View. What streets, neighborhoods, or parts of the city are we talking about in Coronado?
Well, Coronado is a self-contained gated community. It consists of approximately 2,500 acres, and the Eisenman family that developed it has been at it for 50 or 60 years. At this point, they only have approximately 15 or 20% of the original property that they bought that's left to develop. There are still several options available on the beaches, which pretty much wrap around Coronado. The main road is called Roberto Eisenman Boulevard. It's named after the founder and wraps, like I say, around most of the 2,500 acres. The beachfront condo developments are very popular. Some of the new projects are in various stages of development. There's a golf course with a hotel and a tennis facility and a gym and a spa and several restaurants and a large pool. And all of that is located in the middle of Coronado. There's an equestrian center. And then there are many interior roads that access all of the amenities. Excuse me. There are also some new single-family homes being built throughout the area. There are currently 2 condo towers on the golf course and another that will begin construction here in the next couple of months. There's a Johns Hopkins affiliate medical facility, a private beach club. Over the years, some outside developers have come in and purchased fincas from the Eisenmans, and they're building yet their own product with many more options to satisfy the demand for Coronado. These will be on the beach, they'll be on the golf course, and throughout the interior of the development.
Okay, Mike, now that we have specific locations in mind, what types of properties do you recommend? And let me give you a few brief examples of what I mean. Are we talking about buying pre-construction units that for capital appreciation that we flip? Are we talking about buying completed apartments, houses, or office spaces to generate rental income? Or are we talking about buying land to either sell as is or subdivide into smaller tracts? Mike, give us a better idea of what you are talking about and recommending today.
Well, really, I don't necessarily recommend right out of the gate. I try to listen to the buyers and try to determine early in what their objectives are. The movie tends to end the same a lot, but people come with their own objectives. But really, at the end of the day, the most popular product that I find that we sell by far is condos. Most buyers that are coming here are downsizing, and the condo lifestyle just really seems to best fit the next chapter of their lives. The condo rental demand is very high, as many want to rent before they buy or while they're building a home. There has been some appreciation since I've been here due to the demand as well as the increased cost to develop. I do expect this will continue. There are opportunities to buy some of the older original housing stock and update it to meet the standards of today's foreign buyers, and they certainly can make money that way. I typically don't push appreciation to buyers, but rather the rental returns. As we've had solid stats from several years of managing over 60 condo units for our clients. The option to buy land inside and outside of Coronado to develop new product is also quickly becoming an option for some. I really shy away from pushing pre-construction product unless it's being built by a reputable builder that has extensive experience with starting and completing their projects on time and on budget. There can be some upside in the pre-construction values, but in my opinion, there's also risk associated with that option. And it's not for everyone. Most of the people that are coming here in the last several years, though the demographics are getting younger, most of the people are retiring. So the idea of managing property or maintaining property isn't really a fit for them. Like I say, the condo, I think, is the best fit. They can lock the door and travel or go back and visit their family and not worry so much about what's happening while they're gone.
Mike, love the detailed breakdown. Now, I'm going to hit you up with a two-part question that I know everyone wants to know, and you have to give us a general range so we have some price points in mind. Here they are. Part one, I'm going to ask you, and then feel free to answer. What would be the price range of what we're talking about? Maybe give us a starting price point at the low end to a final price point at the high end. And just to clarify, I'm talking about total purchase price.
Well, that's a range, Taylor. Properties in Coronado can range from a low of $1,200 per meter squared to a high of a little more than double that. And I know that like I said, that's a pretty wide range, but location and quality come into play there. So, like I say, approximately $1,200 a meter to a little bit more than double.
Okay, and then for a part two, as a follow-up, maybe give us a total purchase price. If we're at, are we at $120,000 minimum? Are we at $150,000 minimum? Give us some kind of range of a total purchase price.
Okay. If you want to be beachfront, which most of the people that come here are trying to fulfill their dream of always living on the beach, I would say that a good number to hang your hat on, if you will, for entry-level beachfront condo is right around $200,000. And then, of course, it like anything, it goes up to 7 figures. Really depends on size and location. But you can come here and buy a very nice 2-bedroom, approximately 11 or 1,200 square foot beachfront condo with very nice amenities for around $230,000 to $240,000.
Awesome. And for listeners like me who are used to dealing in square feet, divide the numbers you hear by 10.76 or maybe just a flat 10 to keep it easy. And you get close enough numbers to get an idea of what Mike is referring to. Okay, Mike, this is a question I like to call, what would Grandma do? My grandma calls you up, says she has X amount of dollars to spend. You know, you can't let my grandma down. Share with us 3 specific examples you would show her and explain why these make sense for Grandma.
Well, for Grandma, again, I think recommend a beachfront condo. Really, that goes back to what I said. There's a very high demand for rentals for that condo. The prices are still relatively low. And, of course, there's no maintenance, per se, for Grandma to deal with. I might also suggest that she consider a condominium on the golf course, as the demand is equally high for those. And unlike many golf country clubs that I've seen, the membership to the club is transferable to the tenant during their stay. That makes it a pretty attractive option for people coming to vacation or to have a look. And I guess the third option I would consider for Grandma would be a hotel condo. And the reason I say a hotel condo is because unlike a non-hotel condo, she wouldn't even really need to be involved in the rental process. She would simply put it in the rental pool, and the company that's running the property would handle the rental, the maintenance, and any issues that might evolve.
Mike, we are laser focused on specific areas of Coronado. We know our starting price point. We have an idea of cost per meter. We have 3 specific examples which are good enough even for Grandma. Now let me ask you an obvious question. How do we buy? Do we need to come in with all cash, whether that's from our checking account, home equity line of credit, or retirement funds? Or can we come in with a certain percentage down and get local financing from a bank or credit union?
Well, that's a good question. Most of my buyers are from North America. Most of them are buying with cash and have been really since I've been here. A lot of them are selling their current residence wherever they came from and moving on. So they do come with cash. Some that still have equity in their properties back in North America do a line of credit and come here and purchase that way. There are banks, institutional lending establishments here that will make you a loan. However, the process can be a little bit slow and uncertain, and maybe can even sometimes compromise your leverage when negotiating with the seller on the front end. If you inform them that you're going to get a loan, they know that might take a little while. The required down payment for foreigners is typically 30%. Another thing to make note of is the term of the loan. Unlike North America, where you can typically get a 15 or 30-year loan, here in Panama, the term of the loan can vary, and it really depends on the age of the buyer, and will likely require life insurance as well. That could add a significant increase to your monthly payment. Another attractive option is more and more of the developers, sensing a need to bridge that gap, if you will, are now starting to offer financing of their own. They typically require anywhere from 10 to 30% down, depending on the interest rate and the length of the loan. And something that's really starting to emerge, and more people are looking at it as an attractive option, is the idea of electing to self-direct their retirement funds. Many people coming from North America right now are a little bit uneasy about the security and the liquidity of their retirement funds, and they view it as low-hanging fruit for the government to borrow their money, if you will. So more and more of them are now starting to utilize that as an option and self-directing their retirement fund into a property here in Panama.
Okay, Mike, anyone who has ever owned real estate can tell you, you need to have a money exit strategy in place even before you buy. It's something what I like to call, where's the cheddar? You are buying the property to do what with it to make some money. So, Mike, where's my cheddar?
Well, that's another really good question, Taylor. The answer to that is really highly dependent on the objectives of the buyer, like I said before. Unfortunately, many overlook that question and don't consider the implications. Usually in a normal market cycle, real estate is a long-term investment. When you go outside that scenario, it could cost you. Some come and buy and soon grow tired of Panama, or they miss their family or have medical issues, or they just simply return to where they came from. In that case, they can usually be assured of losing some money due to the short-term, taking a long-term investment and turning it into a short-term deal. The cost of selling the property and the cost of moving both to Panama and back to where they came from can be significant. It's why I think renting first is a good option before buying. The cheddar for me is to buy highly desirable properties in a highly sought-after area like Coronado. Like I say, that was a good question. I was concerned with exactly that same question when I came to Panama. I'd been a long-term real estate investor, and I always, too, had my eye on the cheddar, as you put it. And it's really why I did so much research in the beginning. Because of the things that I mentioned, many of the reasons that people leave, it also offers really good opportunities. When people leave in a hurry because of illness or because they can't take it anymore, they miss their family, that does create opportunities for the next buyer. But I think that a buyer would still be wise to do research and seek highly desirable properties to make it easier to spin out of them at the end.
Well, Mike, I really wanted to thank you for taking the time to share with us about Coronado Real Estate. We have heard about your journey, why you chose Panama, exact areas of Coronado to focus on, price points to look out for, specific examples good enough even for grandma, a money strategy to purchase, and then what we might do with it after the fact to make some cheddar. Unfortunately, it's time to say goodbye. But before we do, share with us an easy way to get a hold of you, any parting advice you might want to share, and then let's say goodbye.
Okay. Well, I can be reached via email, of course. My email address is mike@ipreinfo.com. My cell phone number here is from North America. It would be 011-507-6756-5850. Also, Taylor, you can find lots of valuable information and see many properties for both sale or for rent on our website. Our website address is www.insidepanamarealestate.com. This is also where you can view many of the community profiles that I videoed as I was traveling around the country for 2 years. And also you can leave a message on my U.S. cell phone, which I do still monitor. That number is 760-518-4059. And lastly, of course, Skype is always a good option. My Skype name is Michael.Vuytowecz. Vuytowecz is spelled V like Victor, U-Y-T like Tom, O-W-E like Eric, C like Charlie, and Z like Zachary.
Awesome, Mike. I have really enjoyed this conversation, straight from Coronado, Panama to our earbuds, and I hope we can catch up again in 3 to 6 months.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate the opportunity, and I look forward to speaking to you again.
I want to thank Mike once again for his awesome take of being on the ground in Coronado, Panama. If you're listening to this podcast and want to grab Mike's contact details, links on buying or selling Coronado real estate, or any other show notes, head on over to irelpodcast.com/1. We would love to hear your thoughts on today's episode and are giving away over $500 in free site upgrades to each and every property owner, agent, or developer who lists real estate on our site and leaves us an honest iTunes review. In addition, for all listeners who don't own any real estate, instead, we'll provide an awesome resource guide that will give you amazing discounts to our most popular resources, including vacation rental sites, home exchange sites, house sitting sites, and much more. Just head on over to irelpodcast.com/1 for complete details.
You have been listening to the IREL Podcast with Taylor White. Be sure to hit up irelpodcast.com for more. That's irelpodcast.com. Thanks for listening.